volunteered to take minutes. I know, it's that you would, you did find some, you've got the presenter that's coming next month. but
Yeah,
That's why I had it in my mind that you were doing it next month, but thank
the
you.
Urban Park Rangers in May, yes.
Outstanding. So thank you very much for doing that this month, and great. Oh, yes, and now we've got Francisco and we've got Daryl.
Hey, Liz.
Hey there.
Liz, quick, the guys that were supposed to be on today weren't given the link to be a panelist on here.
Okay, so if you could just forward them the general link.
This is the thing. Now they have a conflict, so I was hoping we could move them to agenda for May.
Okay. So as soon as they let me know, I will let you know.
Somebody's, there's a lot of background noise. You know what? We'll figure out how to make it work. But if you can forward me their email information so that I can make sure that they get added next month. And I apologize for that. If that ever happens again, just know that they can join using the general public link and then get promoted. So that should never be an obstacle. But I apologize for that. All right, so
I'll send you their emails.
Okay, great. We're gonna call this meeting to order. It is, welcome everybody to the Community Board 12 Parks and Cultural Affairs Committee for April. Today is April 13th. It's 6:34 p.m. and I'm calling this to order. Before I go into other opening remarks, just some housekeeping notes. Thank you again to Naima for taking minutes this month. Thank you to Alexis for your willingness in general to take minutes, and perhaps you can do it next month if there are no other volunteers. We're expecting Nobles soon, and Barbara is sick. She underwent some, she's undergoing some surgery. She was in the hospital. We of course wish her well in a full and speedy recovery. And she was very grateful for and appreciative of flowers that were delivered to her on behalf of her board colleagues. So she appreciated being remembered in that way. So I think the only other person that we're missing, we've got Sally here, we've got Francisco, we've got Daryl, we've got Alexis. We are missing Eda Santiago is excused for this evening. Eda Santiago is here this evening. Excellent. I am not sure where Aisha is, so I guess we will find out from her later if she's excused or absent. I know she frequently has travel conflicts, and I see we have our board colleague and second vice chair, Tanya Bonner. So welcome, thank you for coming.
Hello.
And we have our also board colleague, Steve Simon, although I am assuming he is here in his official work capacity as a representative of the Parks Department, not wearing his CB12 hat. So is that correct, Steve?
No hat.
No hat. Okay.
Can we say that you were the one who delivered the flowers to Barbara Frazier? I think that gracious act should be acknowledged.
Well, I like flowers and I have a car, and it was a pleasure to be able to do that on behalf of the board. And it was just a bummer that, of course, because of COVID, can't visit. These are very, very weird times. So on a personal note, if you know anybody who is sick or in the hospital or anything like that, reaching out with a phone call, text, cards, whatever is, I think, always welcome, because being sick is pretty isolating, but these days even more so. But thank you for that, Steve. So in terms of opening remarks and updates, our resolution from March regarding proposed parks names passed unanimously by the executive committee with 13 votes and has been forwarded on to the Parks Department. The Open Culture Program, which is a street closure program that enables arts organizations to have ticketed events, was expanded to include 6 locations in Community District 12, including the block of Cummings Street between Broadway and Seaman Avenue, a little bit of 207th Street, that sort of dead end area, a couple of blocks of Jamel Terrace between 160th and 162nd, 2 blocks of Dykeman Street, the block between Broadway and Seaman and between Seaman and Payson, and weirdly, a block of Bennett Avenue between 181st and 182nd Streets. So there are pretty easy to follow instructions if you know of arts organizations that might want to hold ticketed events on the nyc.gov website. And huge thanks and shout out to the borough president for really advocating for Uptown and making sure that there were Uptown locations for that program, because initially there was like nothing north of, I don't know, 116th Street or something like that, which not cool.
Liz, can I ask a question?
Yes. Oh, and
Bennett
welcome Nobles.
Bennett between 181 and 182
Yeah,
on the block? So they
in
rerouting
the street. Yeah.
They're rerouting traffic?
Yeah, so the way the program works is they're only going to do that for the days for which there's an application. It's not like the street is closed if there's no program in place. So I think because it's a relatively low traffic street and there's a way to reroute traffic, then they figured out how to make that work. There has not yet, to my knowledge, been an event in that space. So I have no idea how it will actually play out in reality. I just know those are the streets designated by DOT for that program. And for more information on that, you can visit nyc.gov and then go to the Open Culture.
I don't think there's a cross street between on Bennett Avenue between 181st and 180.
This might be 183rd, 184th. It's not, there isn't much by, you are correct. There isn't a cross street.
That's what I was wondering too, Steve.
Yeah,
It might be 180.
184 is the closest, no?
it goes to 184th Street.
Yeah, somebody like 184 because it curves around, right?
No.
No.
You're thinking of Overlook
I'm
Terrace.
thinking Overlook. Thank you, Liz. You're correct. Yeah, 180. Bennett goes all the way down to 181st, I believe.
Right.
actually. Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
so
You're right.
there's
You're right.
Right,
By
but weirdly,
Tampopo Ramen, which I highly recommend.
correct.
100%.
Weirdly, the city website says Bennett between 181 and 182. It's not like 182 actually intersects with Bennett. So I don't know if that's a typo on the city's part or if their intention is that it's only that portion of that block. I don't know. I think, yeah, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this, but suffice it to say, it's a good thing that there is some recognition that there's a lot of arts uptown and that we needed some of those venues as well. So if you know arts organizations, please help spread the word. Shiloh, do you have a specific question about this program, or are you just raising your hand for the programming updates? Uh,
There's a question in the chat,
Yeah,
Liz.
okay, so, right, yes, I'm seeing the question now. No, the community board does not get notified, nor does the community board approve the open culture permits. That's an application process through the city's website. The community board approval isn't required. I would hope there would be some kind of notification requirement that the city has, in the same way that the city has a mechanism for notifying the community when the Office of Film, Theater and Broadcasting issues a filming permit. So my guess is, I'm guessing here, please do not quote me on this. We are all kind of making this is a brand new program and we're all sort of making it up as we go along. But I certainly would hope there's some kind of notification process, although to be honest, I have no idea what that notification process is. I can certainly find out.
Yeah,
That
thank
is-
you, Liz. That would be much appreciated. The city website actually does indicate that some approval or authorization is coming from the community board. I don't know at which level, but the application to actually apply for a permit indicates community board notification or approval.
Interesting.
I can put the
Would it
link
be,
in the
yeah,
chat.
no, I'm taking a look at it now. Okay, so this is sort of more time than I want to spend on this here, but thank you very much for highlighting that we clearly have some work to do. So the locations are determined by DOT and they are permitted by SAPO, the Street Activities Permitting Office, through a process that is similar to other SAPO applications. And it's not actually clear what is the mechanism for community board approval. So I guess we will have to reach out to SAPO and figure out what those guidelines are. As I said, it's a new program and they did not do a great job of working with community boards to let folks know how to work through that. As a matter of housekeeping, I just wanted to let folks know that we originally had as an agenda item a presentation from the Lenape Center. We thought we had confirmation that they would be attending. Sally had reached out to them and had tentatively confirmed that they were attending, but now they are not attending. So Sally, thank you very much for working with them to try and get them here. We will continue to try to reach out to them. We're not going to have time to put them on the agenda for May, but perhaps we can circle back and have them come in June and resume that conversation. So that's going to be coming off of the agenda. And then for those of you who were here at the very beginning of the meeting, before I sort of called it to order, item number 7, the presentation from We Love Pop-Ups on holiday festival programming in parks, vendor who's looking to do that. They had a scheduling conflict, and so we're going to try and slot them in for a short presentation in May. That would have been a shorter agenda item than the Lenape Center. So without, in that case, further ado, hello, Danielle Jetu. I'm so sorry. I totally forgot that, of course, you too are a member of this committee, and I am glad you are here. So we have.
Hi, I'm here.
Excellent. Excellent.
I took my LSAT this morning, so I'm looking kind of crazy. So that's
You
why.
took your LSAT. Oh my goodness. I had no idea. Congratulations. I hope you did. I hope you crushed it.
Thank you.
Congrats.
I
Oh,
hope,
and
Oh my
I hope you're
goodness.
getting some wine. Danielle, you deserve some wine.
Oh
Thank
my god. Okay, so we got to have a really keep it on the beat so that I can go buy this woman a beer. No, just kidding.
Thank
So
you.
there's a question in the chat about whether or not we have approval for applications for the open culture.
Okay, so we just actually kind of did a lap around that issue.
I missed it, sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
Better pay better attention.
That is totally fine. Thank you, Shiloh, for that information. So then I'm looking for, do we have somebody from the Broadway Malls Association?
Liz, is it possible I can ask a question before you move on to the next agenda item?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I just had my hand up. I don't like to interrupt, but I don't want you to be on another agenda item, and I'm circling back and bothering you with that.
Oh, sorry, not see your hand up.
No worries. I had a question about the open, what is it, open culture?
Yeah.
I think that if we are, as a community board, approving these permits or having a say so, I think part of it should be noise mitigation. And just want to make sure with all of the other anticipated stuff craziness is gonna be happening, that, you know, the concern of anything, you know, I don't know what the hours will be of any of these events and things like that. It's just with everything else is going to be compounding, you know, this community in terms of that. Just want to, that should be a part of the discussion in terms of how, you know, that's going to be regulated in terms of crowds, in terms of, you know, social distancing, in terms of noise and things like that. I just think it's going to be a really important thing to think about.
Right, absolutely. I mean, I can say, wearing not my community board hat, but member of the board of a theater company that is looking at applying for an open culture permit. That would be, you know, a daytime event of a play reading, and there would be possibly microphones, but possibly not even that. So I think it's a full range of cultural performances. And yeah, clearly noise needs to be taken into account. I believe there is a guideline for how late something can go. And I think it's like 8 or 10 o'clock. I do not remember. Again, we didn't get any official notification from the city about what community board's roles were in this. So I do not want to have a conversation that's too detailed, because I have no idea what the city's expectations are and what the guidelines are. But that said, your point is extremely well taken, that we perhaps do not, you know, we want to make sure that we're not permitting, you know, the heavy death metal band that's playing until 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I think we don't want to go that route. So thank you for raising that. I see we've got Stuart Desmond in the participant attendees, so I'm going to move to that agenda item. And Paola, can you promote Stuart to a presenter?
Am I with you?
Yes, we can hear you, but I'm not sure if you've been elevated to presenter with screen sharing capability. Hello.
Okay, well, fortunately, I'm holding a picture in my hand in case that happened. Some of you will recall, in March 2020, I came to you representing the Broadway Mall Association to present the art exhibition we expected to have on the malls last summer.
Mm-hmm.
The work of John Isherwood, which he sculpted from Carrara marble in Italy. That work has been stuck in Italy for a year. However, we have reason to be certain that it will be installed on 8 malls in mid-June. The work that will be presented at Ilka Payan Park is exactly the same work that you heard about and seemed in favor of last March.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the hard part. Let's see.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can see that.
Okay, it's there are 8 flower forms. This you probably can't see, has flower forms etched on it. It's about 5 foot tall. And it'll be somewhere that works in Ilkapayan Park. And as usual, there will be signage identifying the artist and a little bit about the program. We have communicated with the group that has been working on managing Ilkapayan Park, and they seem enthused about it also. Any questions?
I just have a quick question,
Okay,
Liz.
sure.
Yes.
How, what would you like me to just recap about this specifically? The date of the installation, do you have that?
Mid-June.
Mid-June, okay.
Yeah.
And in terms of the, either you can do it or I can do it, but Stuart had presented last March. So there will be, you can feel free to just grab the language from last March's minutes or reference them or take an excerpt from them. Or just, yeah, reference them in some way, not to worry. Well, that is exciting. It is a bummer that they got stuck in Italy. I remember having that conversation. It was lovely to have the birds that were there for an extra several months.
Right.
But I'm really looking forward to seeing this new art. And as always, I appreciate your coming to give us updates.
Thank you so much, guys. I don't have to get on the subway and go up to Community Board 12. I get to sit on my living room chair and talk to you. So that's really great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And just tell us, how long
Quick question.
will they be there? Will they be in place?
For 6 months, sometimes that's extended a little bit by Parks, but Parks will only approve 6 months initially.
Okay, thanks. And Daryl, you had a question?
Yeah, I forget. Is that the highest you go, or is there another? Do you do Mitchell Square too?
Not on this. We have in the past, but not for this exhibition.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, sometimes we're lucky and we get 2. Sometimes we only get 1. But it seems like Ilkapayan Park is all Ilkatanya Bayan Park always gets something because it's a really good site for it.
It's a nice site, and there's another one quite similar at 148th and Broadway.
Outstanding. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right, I appreciate it. And you're welcome to stay, but you don't have to. And he's off. Okay, next up, we have a very, very brief, oh wait, before I cue you up, Jennifer, I just want to check the chat and see if, okay. And I just want to let folks know who are coming to give reports from their various CBOs. We're going to hear from you after we've got this presentation from Parks and then a presentation from HPD and Cloth on the ELIZA, and then we'll have a roundup of community-based organizations. So next up, Jennifer Hoppe. Oh, and I did also want to let people know, usually Jennifer does a fairly extensive capital and programming report. But because we had a very full agenda, she basically ceded her time for a presentation from Parks on Bennett Park. So rather than give her more extensive report, she's just going to let us know if there are any burning items, updates, capital updates, and then we're going to move to the presentation on the Bennett Park lawn. Yes?
Great. Thank you so much, Liz. I'll make one announcement, and then I think most people are on for the Bennett Park presentation, but I'm happy to answer any other questions that the committee has. Parks is part of our effort to make our park safe and welcoming and enjoyable to all. We're launching a litter ambassador program on peak. As this committee has demonstrated, it's helpful when you're hearing from your neighbors and when you're out on the park, enjoying the park, your friends and neighbors are encouraging you to help steward the park by giving you a bag. We've started a litter ambassadors program. We're doing outreach for it now for 5 different high volume generating sites of trash at the 218th entrance to Inwood Hill Park, around the Seaman Isham entrance to Inwood Hill Park, Fort Tryon's Dong and Lawn, Highbridge Park's CPF lawn, and down at the Dave Crenshaw, I saw you, down at the sunken playground near Adventure Playground in Highbridge Park. So if you're interested in becoming a litter ambassador, you can email Maria, MARIA .Phoebus, FEBUS at parks.nyc.gov, the Deputy Administrator for Northern Manhattan Parks. You'll also see PSAs on bus shelters, fun pop-up events related to this. We had one at Broadway and Arden the other day. They'll be throughout the 5 boroughs. And we're looking forward to getting everyone to pitch in. So with that, I guess, since I don't want to take more time away from the presentation, are there specific capital projects that people want an update on or any policy issues?
Any questions?
I don't know if this is the time to raise it, but there is a petition being written, I guess, to you, Jennifer, and to Commissioner Silver about the work to remove the circle at the Clove in Inwood Hill Park. So I'm not
Sure.
Where
Happy
to
to talk about that. So in the Shirakapak Nature Preserve in Inwood Hill Park, in the most sensitive area is the Clove. Within the Clove, someone has been erecting structures, has built a brick patio, and has put in a fire pit type of circle. As a result, we've been having people congregate there. We've had reports of open flames there. There's been soil compaction as a result of all that activity. And the leaf litter layer has been removed from the forest floor there. So you're taking away a lot of habitat for important bugs, birds. So it's also illegal to erect a structure in a park because it hasn't been necessarily deemed safe for public access, and then it's there, sort of becomes an attractive nuisance. And while we recognize people enjoy it, it is against park rules and it is harming the forest. So rather than just taking something away, working with Parks Natural Resources Group in the Forestry Division and our Stewardship Division, we want to do a forest restoration work in that location. So if anybody, is interested in building an approved structure elsewhere temporarily, they can apply through the New York City Parks Special Event Permit process. And that's on the Parks Department's website, www.nyc.gov/parks, and then you click on permits. Inwood residents may recall that there's a Succotwood event every Succot, and artists are come in and invited to build temporary structures as part of that festival in the park and in the non-sensitive environmental areas, on the lawns, away from the critical root zone of trees and open areas.
I do also want to say that you gave Sally, there was a pretty extensive presentation on this at the last committee meeting. So I would also encourage you to check out the minutes from that. I've seen
I
9.
was more concerned because the petition has like 450 signatures. So that has just happened in the last week.
So if anybody wants to, reach out to me in a formal capacity, then I can respond as to the damage that's doing to the forest floor and the fires it's attracted. I'm happy to respond, provide a more substantive response to that. so that everybody who signed is being informed.
I'm going to take 2 more questions on this, and then I'm moving the agenda. Naima, and then Danielle.
Thank you, Liz. I just wanted to take a moment, Jennifer, to say congratulations. The Litter Ambassador program sounds amazing. It sounds like a great step forward in terms of addressing the issue of litter, but also doing it in a way that is non-confrontational. Because litter ambassadors, hopefully they'll have something that identifies them, right? Maybe they'll have some
Yes.
uniform, and I'm sure there's going to be some sort of customer service training so that it's more of a friendly approach. And I think that's wonderful, because a lot of times I think it's lack of education or a lack of knowledge on certain things, and people do certain things because they're not aware they're not supposed to, as silly as it may sound. So I just want to say congratulations. It's an amazing idea. I'm even thinking about if I'll have the time to be a litter ambassador. So
You can sign up for 1 shift.
okay, all right,
You don't have to commit to the whole 6 weeks. It's May 1st through November 1st.
okay.
I'll send around, I'll ask the community board, I think sent out something
Yep.
already. I'll have it resent with the flyers and more details.
And is there an age limit? Like, what if a 15-year-old, 16-year-old, if they want to participate, is there a restriction there?
My expectation is it's for anybody under 18 would need to be supervised by a caregiver. But I can confirm that. Naima, that's a really good point. I forgot to mention there is going to be a junior litter league. And if so, like, I know people like Coach Dave Crenshaw gets his kids together with the senator, and they'll do, clean up with the Parks Department in Highbridge. If there's a youth group that wants to become part of the Junior Litter League, they can. And then there's competitions and prizes as to how many bags are given out, how many hours are logged, that type of thing. So I apologize, I forgot to mention that.
Okay, thank you. Danielle.
Hi. So, Jennifer, we heard from the NYPD at the Public Safety Committee about changes in policing related to marijuana. I was just wondering if you could talk briefly about any new directives regarding policing in the parks.
I would just say that all smoking is prohibited in parks. Doesn't matter what substance it is.
So how are the officers planning to address it?
The police officers or?
The officers in the park, the park officers.
I think the same way that they would handle smoking of cigarettes or hookah, public education, and then asking people to take it outside to the park perimeter where it's permitted.
So they're not issuing summonses or arresting anybody in the parks?
For smoking, I guess you can get a summons, but I don't think they would distinguish.
I'm actually
depending on
going to
what
jump in
substance
here. We
you're-
did cover this last month. To be clear, regardless of what the law is on marijuana, smoking is illegal in parks.
Right, that's why I want Jennifer to explain how the officers in the parks are planning to address it.
Right. But again, we did actually go through this last month. I would encourage you to read the minutes.
I was at the meeting, and so I'm asking for Jennifer to clarify, since now it's officially been legalized. So again, I just want Jennifer to outline exactly how the officers have been directed to address it in the parks.
I can ask, but like I said, it's the same as if people were smoking cigarettes. All smoking is prohibited in parks. It doesn't matter what the substance is. So just because someone's smoking marijuana doesn't mean they're going to be treated differently than if they were smoking a cigarette in the park. It's all illegal. And they would be asked to move to the park perimeter where smoking is legal.
Got it. Thank you.
And vaping is also illegal, correct?
Okay, I'm going to be really clear here. Smoking is illegal in all New York City parks. You cannot smoke cigarettes. You cannot smoke hookah. You cannot smoke e-cigarettes. You cannot smoke marijuana in a New York City park.
Liz,
Even if the thing is
you're saying that they're illegal, but that is not what I'm asking. What I'm asking is how it's planning to be addressed. Because there are different degrees of there's the law, and then there's the way in which it's addressed. Like,
I'm sorry. Can I just interrupt real quick? Sorry, Danielle. if this is a, a topic for a future meeting, I think that would be great. We could put it on the agenda, but it wasn't on the agenda for this meeting. So if we can move it forward, I think that would
Thank
be.
you, Daryl. Okay, so without further ado, we've got a presentation from Parks on the Bennett Park lawn.
Hi, my name is Ricardo Hinkle. I'm a Deputy Director of Landscape Architecture at Capitol at Parks. And I'm here with Chris Crowley, who's a project landscape architect for the Bennett Park project. And he's going to narrate, and I'm going to show the slideshow. And we were here a few months ago, back in October, I think, and we met with you and we discussed what the community wanted and the different ideas that came up. And Jennifer, did you want to give a little introduction at all?
Sure. Many people on this committee have been invested in and beyond in the audience have been invested in Bennett Park for several years. You know that the Parks Department did a capital overhaul of the site that included a natural lawn in the central area. It did not work given the high levels of use we had. We subsequently did a restoration, with compost, soil amendment, with Manhattan Horticulture Group. And then given the high levels of use that did not withstand the trampling and demand on the site. Subsequently, the Central Park Conservancy was brought in with their turf management experts. They did a beautiful restoration. Same thing, soil amendment, ongoing watering of the lawns. And because of the high volumes of use in a short period of time, it was denuded. So the community had requested the central lawn be redone. The designers, Parks Department had a public scoping meeting where we heard a lot of wonderful and constructive input. Some of what the community put forth doesn't have to wait for this capital project. We heard a lot about the need for more vegetation and opportunities for kids to dig. So to that end, we're adding new plantings into the park. My staff, we're working with the Friends at Bennett Park this Saturday from 9 to 11. We're going to be having a stewardship day where kids can mulch the playground tree pits and mulch in the children's garden and do general spring prep. You don't have to have a kid to come. We need all hands on deck. And then in May, Parks and the Friends of Bennett Park are going to be having children plant the planters again in the children's garden. And my staff will be installing some plantings. We'll also be working the street tree division for some of the tree canopy gaps on Pinehurst. So everybody brought up great ideas and needs for Bennett Park. Not all of them have to wait to be addressed in this project, although it's very important, and we're so grateful the borough president and the council member provided funding for it. But I wanted to let you know we did hear you, and we're excited for these interim improvements that we can make collectively.
Thank you, Jennifer. And then I want to introduce Chris Crowley to say a couple of words before I share my screen and show the presentation, and Chris can start his narrative. Chris, you want to say hi so they can see you?
Well, just thank you for having us, inviting us to the meeting. And we've put our heads together to come up with an idea for the central lawn that we'll show you today. Here we go. This is the project's Bennett Park, and it's the reconstruction of the central lawn. It was co-funded by the borough president, Gail Brewer, and also your council member, Edanis Rodriguez. The site is 1/2 acre. Next slide. And the goal is to reconstruct the bare central lawn with a durable, multi-generational green and restore the stone screening path with an ADA accessible path and enhance the expanded planting. And we'll show you these goals throughout the design. Next. You all know where it's located. It's just north of the George Washington Bridge in in your neighborhood of Washington Heights. Next. And this is the site in context to the neighborhood. This is actually the flood zone map that we're required to show since Sandy, the Hurricane Sandy. The light blue along the water shows the high water. This is the highest point, highest natural point in Manhattan. And you can clearly see it's in no danger of any kind of flood hazard. Next. The neighborhood is typical Manhattan, a mixture of residential, commercial, and institutional. Next. And there are about 5 parks within 10 minutes of Bennett Park, and plus Fort Tryon just north of there. So you have a lot of park amenities. Of course, Bennett Park itself has a lot of amenities. And it's a great neighborhood park, but this just shows you some of the other parks in your neighborhood. Next. So the lawn is the central part. The lawn is in the center. You have a playground to the north, and you have a large open play field to the south. And the project is just focusing in this central area where the lawn is. Next. So we did an analysis of the site, and in the very center of the site, there's this tan area, which represents the worn lawn and the hard pan earth that's there now. As Jennifer said, we tried more than once to put a sustainable lawn in there, but because of the active use, it just wouldn't last. So we were looking for something that's more durable and something green. And we've come up with a few ideas. There's a path coming through the lawn. That path is stone screening that we put in 10 years ago. That stone screening has worn way down. We want to remove that and put it in a harder surface. This way wheelchairs and strollers can use this more easily. And just north of the stone screen path, there's what we call the secondary lawn, kind of a passive lawn. We're looking at greening that up in this project as well. I just also want to point out the rock outcrop that's just to the west of the central lawn, and this is the highest elevation, natural elevation on the island of Manhattan.
265 feet above sea level.
265 feet above sea level, right. These are the trees, a lot of green canopy in this park, which is really nice. Just south to the lawn area, those trees are all in stone screening tree pits. They also have worn down and failed like the stone screening path. So we're looking at addressing those as well. There is one paved one over to the right. Ricardo, can you put the cursor where the paved one? There is one paved one there where people kind of walk through from the entrance to the east, and we'll show you what we're going to do with the other tree pits. Next slide, please. We look at the fences, what we've got for fences. The green shows the steel fences, which we really aren't touching at all. But the orange is the chain and post fence. That's around the lawn, and we'll be looking at what we're going to do with that. Next slide. So a few photographs. I don't think we need to convince you the condition of the lawn if you've been to the park, but we've got the rock outcrop on the left, and we've got this band, which is part of the fort outline that goes right through the rock. And on the slide to the right, we have the lawn, but in the foreground, we have the stone screening. And they're almost the same color because there's no grass on the lawn, but both have failed just from overuse. On the edges, there is still some green. We're going to restore that. There is still a lot of wear as well, so it does need restoring, and we have an idea for that as well. But this is both the secondary lawn on the right and the main lawn on the left. There's the rock outcrop also on the right. Next slide. And we have the cannon that was put in 10 years ago. It's it represents the period of 1776. This is the fort where the Battle of Fort Washington took place, the last stronghold on the island of Manhattan during the Revolutionary War. The cannon is looking out on the lawn that's all worn. And the slide on the right shows the stone screening path that wiggles through the lawn, dividing our primary lawn with the secondary lawn and the 3 benches that are along that path. Next slide. And so this is our idea. In the center, we have a darker green area. We are going to be used a tufted nylon turf. It is a synthetic type turf that we feel is a durable surface, something that the community has called for, something durable for multi-use. It can be used for kids to play games on, roll a ball on, just kind of picnicking, active use, but it's a durable surface that that's going to hold up longer than a grass area. Just to the east of that, we're putting in a berm, and the berm is going to have planting on it, as well as 6 flowering trees, a little gap between the trees so you can get a view of the cannon from the path. And then the lawn, we hope that we put a lawn in on the east side of the berm with some ground cover, and the combination of the slope and the plantings and the ground cover, this lawn should be less traveled on and therefore a better chance of its survival. To the secondary lawn, just to the north of the synthetic turf, we're also addressing that with grass, ground cover, and some more tree planting. A couple trees have come out there, so we're going to replace those. And then to the south of the central lawn, we have the trees in the pavement that are currently in a stone screening tree pit, which has failed. And we want to duplicate the pavers from the single paved tree pit and the rest of the tree pit. So all the tree pits will have these stone pavers in it so that you can walk over them or stroll over them, but there'll be a large mulch area in the center to provide water so that trees will be fed, plus the pavers itself have little thin spaces that water can percolate through the paver to help feed the trees. Next. This is a little elevation showing the rock. That's a main feature I'm sure you all know of. The synthetic turf would be in the middle. And then the berm, the planted berm, is just to the east side of the central lawn area with some flowering trees and also the existing trees. So this is a cross section going from east to west looking north. Next slide. We are going to open up the chain and post fence, and over where the cannon is and also where the some benches are, we're opening up the fence there, taking out that fence right there so that the lawn is more accessible. It's also very accessible all along the path that goes around the rock. Now, I did forget to mention that the path, which was the stone screening path there, will be replaced with an exposed aggregate concrete. So it'll be like a concrete pavement, except that the stones will be, well, you can see stones across the top of it, has an exposed aggregate. So it'll have a natural look as opposed to just a city sidewalk pavement. So we like the idea of tying in that sort of natural look in this lawn area. In this way, wheelchairs and strollers will be able to cross and roll over that much easier than what it's become now. Next. And these are our materials. Of course, we've got the tufted nylon turf. And this is something that the kids will be able to play on for many years because it's very durable. It's a proper surface for the heavy activity that is given in that particular area of the park. Everyone loves an open space to play on, do a cartwheel, relax on, and we think this will hold up much longer than the lawn. This is an existing tree pit that's in the park now, but you can see in the background, there's the stone screening tree pits. And again, those tree pits have lost its durability, and the stone screenings have spread all over. It's a constant maintenance to keep it swept into the tree pit. We want to replace those with the pavers as this one in the foreground is. And the exposed aggregate concrete that's going to replace the stone screening path through the park and around the rock. This is an example of it, and it kind of looks like a stone screening from the top, but it's actually a hard surface that won't erode like the stone screening. Next slide, please. And this is the schematic again. Oh, I'm sorry, the planting. So there's the sawtooth oak is a tree we've chosen because there is a row of sawtooth oak along the playground. There's one tree pit empty. We're just going to replace it with another tree of the same so that this row will be consistent. Flowering trees might be eastern buds, and then the larger trees that have been removed or fallen down. We had a large one behind the cannon fallen down. We'll put a large sort of estate tree like a northern red oak. The mound will be planted. It will have hydrangea and cherry laurel. And then the ground cover would be Pacasania, which runs along the path edge. And I think the next slide is showing the schematic one more time. And I just pointing out again, the ground cover along the edge of the path, some reconstructed lawn just inside of that. And then we have the berm, and then we've got this durable synthetic turf that for multi-use, not just sport field. We're not encouraging sport field. It will have a bit of a warp and bend to the contours that's there now, but it'll be fine for picnicking and just kids playing. And we have the stone screening path going around the rock. And we think the stone screening, what was the stone screening path will now be the concrete path, which will be a durable hard surface for strollers and wheelchairs. And all the tree pits will be addressed so that the stone screenings don't spread all over the place and will be replaced with a paver that's existing there now. And that's the end of the presentation.
I'd like to add one thing, Chris, if I may. One of the reasons we don't have natural turf lawns in our smaller playgrounds, and this size of Bennett Park is sort of a more middling size, but it's not usual for us to have natural turf in a park the size of Bennett Park. And the reason is this is only the synthetic turf area is only about 3,300 square feet of a total. I think the entire grass area is probably close to 5,500 square feet. And I think, so it's about 40% of the total grass area. It's not sustainable. It's not durable enough to take the use of a smaller playground like this. So when we have smaller parks, we generally do, and people want a grass area, we almost always do synthetic turf. And the reason why this turf, the natural turf has not been able to endure over the past several years. Every time we've put grass there, it's been trampled to death, and there's just been too much compaction, too much use for the small area. Just by point of comparison or scale, this is about 1/20th the size of the synthetic turf soccer field that we are putting in at Inwood Hill Park. So it's 5% of that size. So you can imagine all the children, all the people running around this small, tiny area that's 5% of a larger soccer field. You can understand why the repetitive trampling and the compaction that occurs is just not sustainable for a turf lawn. So we don't do turf lawns in playgrounds. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay, thank you. Before I go through the committee with some questions and then the public with some questions, I would like I'm not sure what happened with the notice for this meeting, but I see there are a bunch of people who have signed up using the same link. So I'm hoping that Paola, if you're listening, if all of the people who are not Daniel Glover and all of the people who are not Yayoi Komiyama, and I apologize if I mispronounced your name, if you could throw comments in the chat, in the Q&A with your email address and your name, and then Paola, if you can please harvest those names and emails and add all of those people to the board's e-blast list. So in the future, people are back on the notification because a community engagement process only works if people actually have notices of the meetings. If folks do not want to be added to the board's mail list, then obviously don't do that. But if you would like to be added to the mail list, please throw that information into the chat. And before I recognize the committee members who have questions, I would just like to ask if Parks, if you can email me at a minimum the slide that's got the schematic, because that's going to be useful for the notes. If you can send that to me, and then Naima, I will forward that to you as well, because that will help you with the notes. If you can also just please remind us what the approximate time frame is on this, and what is your anticipated outcome of this meeting? Does this need a resolution? Is that what we are working towards?
Chris, you want to take that?
Well, we are looking for a resolution. We do want to move on to the Public Design Commission, and we need a resolution from the full board to attend that meeting. The time frame on this is that the project will be finished in October to be put out to bid. There's about a 6 to 9 month procurement time period. That brings us into about June. Then we make a decision then, if it goes out to bid for a month, and we make a decision June, July, when the bids come in, if we want to close the park for the remaining part of the summer or start the construction after Labor Day. So ideally, this project will start after Labor Day 2022.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Ideally, I said.
Right. Understood. Understood. And again, you know, I definitely want to have a robust conversation on this and invite community input, and also remind people that we have a substantial presentation from Cloth on the ELIZA. So I want to make sure that we can get to that by 8 o'clock. So Francisco. Francisco, you had your hand up first.
Yes, yes. Okay, so a couple things. I don't know if this is for Paola and or Liz, but is there a link where people can subscribe to the community board's subscription so they can get the blast? Because I would like to have that. I would like to send it out to folks just in the community so they can just have it and sign up. That's besides that. But as far as the project, is there any maintenance on the turf yearly, and by who? And how long would this take? Sorry if I missed this part, but how long would this project take from start to finish?
Well, I'll address the start to finish. As I said, we're looking at a best scenario to start the project after Labor Day in 2022, and all our park projects take a 360-day period because we need to go through 2 planting seasons, one in the beginning to prune and fertilize the trees, and one toward the end of the project to plant new trees during either April or October. So the project wouldn't finish until September of 2023. As far as the maintenance for goes, Jennifer, can you help out on that?
Or, so there'll be daily.
Hold on a second, Jennifer, before you answer that,
Sure.
we've got a bunch of questions in the Q&A, and many of the questions that people are asking are the kinds of questions that lots of people have in mind. So I'm going to ask that, Jennifer, that you not answer those questions in the chat, because then other people won't have the benefit of hearing those answers. So
Okay.
I'm gonna, when I'm
Sounds good.
done with the committee questions, I'm gonna go through the moderating those.
Sure. We'll have staff on site for daily maintenance, and then Parks we have horticultural division for Northern Manhattan Parks that would tend to the plantings. We have a forestry division that would tend to the park trees. And then we have a synthetic turf division that comes in. If there's a tear, they can fix it. If any of the substrate needs amending, they can fix that. But the day-to-day will be through Sector 12, Northern Manhattan Parks.
Jennifer, your audio was, I heard you, but I just want to know if I'm the only one that heard. She sounded like a robot.
Yeah, you've got some definite sound issues there. I really want to get through the committee questions. So Nobles and then Daryl, and then I'm going to take a lap through the Q&A from the public.
Cool. I just have a quick question and possibly another quick follow-up question, depending on the answer. So from a berm perspective, I think you showed us the plants that will be there, started with the P. I will botch the name, but it's Cycla something or other. So obviously that's not, thank you, Pachysandra. Thank you. Clearly not able to be played in by kids. Are we shrinking down the play area by half for kids?
Yes.
Okay. And that's
we're consolidating the play in an area that's more durable and that can take it.
Sure.
We also, just from a tree stewardship perspective, it's good not to have kids running around too much the base of the trees. So we want to keep the trees out of the play area. And so the play area has been kept out of the drip line of all the trees,
okay,
the synthetic turf. So we want to have like a horticultural area on the east side when you come in that's more decorative. And then on the west side would be the consolidated play. And it would be multi-generational, different types of play. It's obviously a very organic shape that lends itself to, frisbee and, catch or just tag. And so it's not really for, more organized sports like soccer or baseball, which would take place down in the southern play area.
So the other side would be just more decorative then. And
Yes.
So I am seeing that correctly.
It's like a welcome garden for when you come up here and you actually see some greenery, because right now, you see tree trunks and a lot of patchy grass and then a lot of clay.
So then that does actually open up my quick follow-up question, dogs. Jennifer, I think we talked about this before. There are, leash laws, like after I think it was like 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. or something like that. There will be dogs here more than likely. Dogs are not prohibited from this park, correct?
Dogs are prohibited from being off leash in this park. There's no
All times.
off-leash courtesy hours at this site.
Okay.
But we know there are many offenders. We have done stealth missions and ticket summons blitzes,
Sure.
but we understand there need to be more.
How does this synthetic grass deal with dog poop?
Pretty well, better than the dust right now.
It would have to be removed.
Yeah, it would have to be removed, but you can
absorb it.
off.
But if you remove it, then eventually the rain will, wash it off, wash the residue off the nylon, and then the water just would go into a sub drain that would go into the storm sewer.
Thank you very much.
And if it's really bad, we can do power washing. But as to Ricardo's point, it sort of comes right off.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Daryl.
Yeah, I had a few questions, but first I just want to say in terms of how you categorize this with the play, there are plenty of people without kids that, enjoy recreating in this area because there's a playground to the north specifically for children. I just want to point that out. But I had a couple questions. On the left, on the western side, the perimeter, you're doing nothing to that. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, just making sure. Are there examples of this turf in nearby parks that people could look at if they wanted to?
Is the Inwood Hill installed yet?
No, that's about a year and a half away as well.
We've
Yeah,
done
not
recent
more.
small patches at the Audubon Playground at 169th Street and Audubon Avenue, and then in the Highbridge Adventure Playground at Edgecombe Avenue and 165th Street.
Okay, good to know.
And Gerald, to your point, we know people without kids picnic on the lawn. I see it on the weekends. It's wonderful. And
I live a block and a half from here, so
Yeah.
just letting you know.
I'm here at least 3 or 4 times a week as well. So we see, we see lots of people with passive. It's not just for play. But we think the berm and the reshaping will help slow down the space, as many people in the community requested.
And then in terms of the closure, your colleague mentioned, as starting after Labor Day, you'll only be closing that northern, just that portion of the park. The playground will still be open. The southern side will still be open. Is that correct?
Would be the goal.
Yes.
Are we, I'm not sure. Yeah, we would try to do what we can to maintain the opening of this part. We're looking at using this as our construction entrance. So as long as we can safely fence this off while allowing an entrance maybe from this side, I think that's a possibility, yeah.
Okay, and I'm sorry,
so-
I kind of missed the cursor. You said the eastern entrance across from the subway. That'll be where you do with the steps. That'll be where you do.
This would be the public entrance. That would be, if possible, we would keep this entrance open so that you could access the playground. Since we're not doing this path, we might be able to close it off here, but we need to have construction vehicles that can come through.
Okay, I just want to make sure you leave an accessible entrance, which I think the southwest one is accessible, or that has a step.
I think the southwest one is, right?
I think we would have to make this a ramp, Ricardo, the
This one
second
here?
Pinehurst Avenue.
Yeah, the northwest entrance on Pinehurst is the only one that's accessible. So
Right.
if that's what you're using for vehicles, you will definitely have to put a ramp down at the end that's closer to 183rd Street. Otherwise, the entire park will be rendered inaccessible, and that's not okay.
Okay.
We're happy to
If I
include
could
that.
just say one thing about, so right where the cursor is now is where the gate would be for the construction fence. So a person can come in that entrance and walk all along the north side of the playground, go right along there, and then turn and go
I
south,
see.
right to
Okay.
the stairways to the west.
Good,
We could
good.
make, yeah, this can be shared as long as we
That
have.
little section will be shared, and there will be a flag man anytime a vehicle needs to come in. And once they're in the gate will be closed, and there will be public access going along the north of the playground down to the entrance on the east side.
Right. Christopher, just to be clear, by accessibility, we don't just mean public access. We mean ADA compliant access.
Right, so
There
this,
Okay,
that entrance is ADA compliant,
great,
and that entrance will remain open.
excellent.
And
Okay,
just one last question. As you probably know, we're looking to rename this park. Are the trees that you identified that you'll be adding, are any of them indigenous to this area?
They all are.
Okay.
We're adding native oaks, and redbuds are native as well.
Thank you.
okay, thank you. All right, so I'd like to go through the public, but before, I see I've got a hand raised on the attendees. But I want to just take a quick lap through some of the questions in the chat. Somebody asked about how the turf holds up to dog urine and feces, and I believe that's been answered. Will a range fence circle the berm plantings? Plantings will not survive without it.
Yes, definitely during their establishment period. That's sort of customary. It's not part of the capital project, but My staff, we do it. We recognize how heavily used this area is, and we will protect the plants probably for their first 3 years, so that they can be sustained. What we are trying to do for kids is make the children's garden more conducive to kids interacting with plants, but having the dirt to dig in to take the pressure off the lawn.
Great.
Apart from
So then related to that, we have how will plants on the berm be protected? Plants in the park are trampled even when fenced.
So it's our only option for protecting those plants is fences. You know, you add anything else to that, you're taking away their light, or, you know, the aeration that their roots need. Really, there's nothing more than range fence that can be done there, and signage. And like I said, maybe some creative programming in the children's garden along Pinehurst to maybe shift the digging and trampling and the foraging that our kids like to do to that area.
Okay, thank you. And is there any additional seating for seniors?
That's not something that's going to be done as part of this project. Am I correct, Ricardo?
No, we're just keeping the existing benches that are here, and here, and then the 3 that are here.
So we aren't taking any benches out, Claire, and we've got benches throughout the park. One thing we were looking to maybe do, independent of the capital project, is to try some cafe tables and chairs, just to have that offering. We find, though, that when we have big picnic tables or anything like that, it tends to attract a large gathering, you know, with backdrops and other things. And this is a small park that already handles high volumes, so that's not something that we think would be sustainable in the long term. But smaller movable cafe chairs and tables might work. We're thinking of piloting that for a season and seeing how it goes.
There's a lot of benches around the perimeter that we will be leaving in place as well. So.
Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of questions about the power washing, about dogs, about bacteria and skin knees. These all seem to have been answered previously. Some positive feedback about the design. The question about the construction has been answered. Okay, Daniel Glover, you've got a question, your hand raised. What you got?
Hey, so can you hear me?
Yep.
I asked it in the Q&A section. Do you want me to read it?
Scrolling, did I miss it? Oh, here we go. Plans look great. Thank you very much. A natural lawn has been tried many times and didn't work. Maybe signage about dogs being off leash and curbing dogs in the park. Any plans for the bushes and rock walls around the perimeter of the southeast side of the park? Lastly, any plans for a fix of the broken fence near the corner of 183 and Pinehurst?
So the fence at 183 and Pinehurst was fixed by Parks Blacksmiths. In terms of the 183rd side of the park, when we have put plantings there in the past, they've been removed or they've been trampled. But it's not something that we're opposed to trying again. It's separate and apart from this capital project, though. So again, we're going to try to shift more of the discovery play type of activity that maybe a lot of the 8, 9, and 10-year-olds like to do to more of the children's garden area. So it takes pressure off the park perimeter. One other thing to keep in mind is this site is probably taking even more level of use from kids, because the elevator at 192nd Street, 190th and Fort Washington is closed. So most people who live on Bennett Avenue and east of there are taking the elevator up to Bennett Park. So in September, October, when the Fort Washington elevator opens up around the 190th A train station, more people will be able to more readily access Javits Playground, which should help.
Mhm. Okay. Walkway from Fort Washington entry to South Pinehurst needs to be clearly marked with good sight lines and lighting. Suggests to me creating concrete aggregate walkway from entrance to entrance with lighting along it comparable to that along the north walkway. How high is the berm? And how high is the concrete curb separating the turf area from the berm area?
The concrete curb will be flush. That's going to be the same elevation on each side. The turf and the natural lawn will be the same elevation. The berm will start after the concrete wall, rise up to about 2.5 to 3, maybe 3 feet in the center.
Okay.
It's a low berm.
And then with plants that are about 2 feet high.
I would say 2 to 4. Yeah, the shrubs get 2 to 4 feet high.
Okay. Thank you. And there are some concerns about the play area being reduced. I know the park is used by everyone in the community, but it's a huge part of our children's lives. If we're pushing the kids to the children's garden, will there be more entrances to the children's garden?
Well, the children's garden is not in this project. There's one entrance to it now. We won't be putting in another entrance at this time with this project, maybe in a future project.
Okay. Are there other questions? I think the questions in the Q&A have largely been answered.
I wanted to respond to the person who wanted to make sure there was a clear path from this entrance down to here. I think that was one of the questions. And one of the reasons we're redoing these, this one is already redone, but one reason we're redoing these tree pits is that it's not clear where to walk right now. And once we put the pavers in here, it'll be a more accessible walking surface so that you can walk over these pavers and ride a wheelchair or push a stroller over these surfaces much more easily. It'll be more accessible. We're not going to put any new lights in, so whatever lighting is there will have to suffice.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your extremely thoughtful comments. I just want to, for the benefit of people who may not be able to see this, Coach Dave Crenshaw said our kids love the fields in Audubon and Adventure Playground. So those are the two areas that have this same kind of turf that's being proposed here. So we've got so far the live experience in this community of actual children using that particular surface appears to be positive. So apologies for the external noise. So in general, if everybody on the committee can please turn on their video so that I can see you smiling, frowning, nodding your faces, shaking your heads, giving a thumbs up. Or you can use, we don't have the, I don't think we have the feature of the thumbs up or the yes, no feature, unfortunately. In this format. So
you want to use the raise your hand feature?
Oh yeah, that works. Yeah, so if people on the committee who do not want to use their video, you could just use the raise hand feature. Sally, are you raising your hand or are you agreeing yes?
Can we just repeat what it is that we are?
Yes, that's what I was about to do. So this proposal, we would be looking to pass a resolution. It sounds, based on the feedback, based on the questions that people were asking and the answers that we got, that in general, we like this plan and we seem to approve of this plan. and that we want to cite the particulars as presented. Note that we've got some real live user experience with this particular turf that's been positive. Note that we've had, certainly for the 4 decades that I've been living in this community, an ongoing problem with not being able to maintain this lawn. Note that there are some concerns with the lessening of the area, but that appears to be compensated for by a better aggregation of the space and by having some better clarity around the tree pits, which has really resulted, the current design has resulted in frankly wasted space. So it looks like there's more space than there really is. And I think based on the feedback that I'm seeing in the chat, we just want to probably have some language that just makes clear that we want to make sure that there's ADA compliant access to the park during construction. I know you said there is, but I just want to I want to spell that out in the reso. And I also want to spell out that we want to make sure that there's a robust cleaning program for this, for the turf, particularly during times of minimal rain. Like the cleaning function will happen in seasons when there's a lot of rain, but that if there isn't, if we go through a dry spell, that we're going to need the Parks Department to do some power washing on that lawn. Are there other specific items that are missing?
There was one
Regarding that,
question.
Liz,
Okay.
Wait, hold
Sorry,
on. I got Daryl and then Nobles.
regarding that, Liz, your last comment, and I just don't recall offhand. Is there enough signage for like keep your dog off the lawn? Is there enough of that there? Do we need more?
We've put it all around the lawn on the post and chain. It's also printed as part of the consolidated signage at each of the park entrances.
Okay, and Nobles?
Just point of clarification, you had mentioned that it was like a comparison between what we currently have now and what we have in the design when it comes to play space. And you said, like, kind of right now, there is kind of like a waste of space there. I just want to make sure that doesn't get in the resolution, because it's not necessarily about that. It's about changing the design utility of the space so it's more sustainable. So I just want to make sure that we're just not making false comparisons, and we're that's all. It might have just been conjecture, something.
Right, no.
Okay.
I'm just gonna say something like it's, and obviously anybody who's been to any of my meetings knows that I don't like group writing exercises.
Yeah, of course. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I mean, the language is gonna have to convey that this is a more coherent design that aggregates the space. I'm not gonna make a mathematical square footage argument.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So, and obviously if I fail to convey that collective sense, then somebody's gonna, may improve on whatever is
Of
my
course.
adequate wording, and I welcome that.
Of
But
course.
yeah, no, I wasn't looking to represent a particular square footage argument.
Thank you.
So Danielle, are you raising your hand with a question, or are you raising your hand to vote
Question,
yes?
sorry if I missed this, but is there a bathroom at this park?
Yes, there is a comfort station. It's in the playground, and it is unaffected by this project.
Got it.
And will continue to be available for use during the period of time that the portion of the park that is being constructed is being constructed.
Great, thank you.
Excellent. So with that, if everybody can, you know what, let's just go with a voice vote. Danielle.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I was on my video on, but I look crazy. I just
No worries. Francisco.
Yes.
Nobles.
Yes. Thank you.
Daryl.
Aye.
You're funny. Etta, is Etta still here?
Yes, I'm here, and yes.
Okay. Naima, we got Naima,
Yes, I vote yes.
Alexis. I vote yes as well. Did I miss anybody? Oh, Sally. Sally? Okay, I see Sally mouthing the word yes. And is that everybody on the
Yes, now you hear it live.
Excellent. And Tanya?
Tanya is yes. Sorry.
Excellent. Did I get everybody? And Steve is not voting due to conflict, which is why I didn't ask. Okay, so I will put together a resolution. I will circulate it. I will do my best to circulate it in advance. I believe this is just directed to the PDC, correct?
You can address it to Commissioner Silver.
Right, but I mean, therefore be it, it's directed to the commissioner, but the therefore be it resolved would be, we support this and further resolve that we encourage the PDC to support this.
Yeah, thank you, yes.
Excellent. Okie dokie. And with 2 minutes to spare, we move on. Thank you very much for your presentation. And we now move on to item 5, the presentation on the proposed Arts and Culture Training Center in the Eliza. And I am going to briefly turn the chair over to my assistant chair, Daryl Cochrane, for the next minute and a half. I will be right back. And thank you, Jeremy and Yvonne, for coming this evening and for waiting patiently during the previous agenda item.
Oh, no worries. Glad to be here.
Likewise.
So should we begin?
Sure. Did you need to share a screen or are you good?
I believe we're going to share a screen.
We are going to share the screen.
There you go. Great.
So let me just, first of all, thank you for having us here this evening. My name is Yvonne Stennett, Executive Director of Community League of the Heights. And Jeremy, you want to introduce yourself before I continue?
Hi, everyone. I'm Jeremy Kahumban. I'm the President and CEO at the Children's Village.
I know on the agenda it said HBD would be here, but they were not a part of this presentation because primarily we'll be dealing with the ACT Center and the STEM Center, which will be located in the Eliza. And just to bring everybody up to date, the Eliza currently is scheduled to have a closing on the 27th. And thereafter, a month or two thereafter, construction would begin. The first phase of that construction would be the demolition of the existing library. And then we would move forward into the actual development of a new state-of-the-art library. Also included in the project would be 174 units of affordable housing. There would be of course, the library and the ACTS Center, as well as universal pre-K. So the building is packed with a lot of amenities. And let me not leave out on the rooftop, we will have a full usable roof garden for both residential and some community programming as well. Jeremy and I, Children's Village and Cloth, are primarily responsible for, along with being part of the ownership structure and the part of the development team, we are primarily responsible as the program moves forward for the programming of the ACTS Center and working very closely with the STEM Center to make sure that their
Yeah, sorry, they were just up to the point that I was tuning in for.
Does that mean I need to repeat myself? I couldn't do that again.
No, that's okay. I think that was somebody who didn't realize that he was not on mute.
Oh, okay. So primarily our responsibility will be providing the programming. Now, granted, we made a presentation to the community board a couple of weeks ago, and we are so close to closing. All the finances are in place. All the designs and everything have been accepted by Bills and the city and HDC. There will not be a lot of changes in terms of the physical structure of the building, but in terms of all of the programming that we would like to provide, we are still at a point where we can make changes. And I dare say that with COVID, and its impact in terms of the funding for some of the services that we had originally projected, we're going to have to be rethinking that. Mind you, this project is not going to open until 2023 and fully running maybe by the end of 2023. So we do have some time. We have flexibility in terms of the programming. But what we'd like to do right now is kind of take you through some of the initial programming that we had anticipating running at the ACTS Center, and maybe talk a little bit about what it looks like in terms of spacing and so forth. And we're going to be making our rounds to all of the committees, because I believe that every one of the committees, TV12, has the potential to give us ideas and thoughts about how to use the space in a way that benefits the entire community, not just the residents of the building, but the entire community.
I'm sorry, I just actually want to just quickly interject something for the benefit of people who are listening to this presentation. I do want to be clear, just sort of dovetailing on what you just said, Yvonne, that the housing aspect of this, the land use aspect of this is outside of the purview of this committee and
Correct.
has already been determined. So we've invited you to this committee so that you can speak to the programming issues. And for folks who are listening to this presentation and who are going to have questions about the presentation, I just want to focus your attention and urge you to focus your questions on those aspects, not, affordable to whom, or those kinds of questions which are dealt with in other committees and largely have been dealt with. So with that, I just want to make sure that, we don't misrepresent what's happening in this committee. And I do also thank you for your openness and willingness to go to the other committees, because there are clearly impacts for, aging, for human services, et cetera.
Exactly. Thank you, Liz. So Jeremy, do you want to walk through?
Sure. What you have here is we're sharing with you the original document that we included in our response to the RFP. It's a combination of programs that are currently operated by the Children's Village and Cloth, and also programs that as we were preparing our response and in the community, things that we heard would be needed. We are looking to bring programs that touch as many in the community as possible. So as Yvonne mentioned, these programs are not designed for the residents in the building. These programs are designed for the entire community. And also, it is our intention to make sure that as often as possible, that these programs will interface with the New York Public Library and its own programming. So that's really important. You'll see, I won't read everything here, but you'll see we have a number of programs that are designed to touch the lives of teenagers, young people with experiences in foster care or some aspect of juvenile justice. We have programs that seek to get young people and young adults engaged in a program with Harlem Grown, who is our partner in Harlem, the Keith Haring Arts Program, which we currently operate. The item 11, the concept of working with all of you and the community around the Inwood community artists and figuring out how to include their work and their creativity in this space. Let me just, I think it might be easier if I kind of come down here to the schedule to give you an idea of how we look at the week. We are looking at programs that would start on Sunday and end on Saturday. So this is a space that we hope will be used 8 to 16 hours a day, focusing on everything from small group activity to the STEM programs, to immigration clinics with our partners, English as a second language, a teaching kitchen, almost forgot that, where we will have a chef that will help participants gain the Serve Safe certification, which is the entry-level certification needed to enter the food service industry. After school and school-based work that will also connect with the New York Public Library and their own schedule around after-school programming. And then also looking at class activity. We don't have a gym in this space, but we have space that can be shared for various activities, and we're looking at classes like Zumba, dance, karate, maybe. And as Yvonne mentioned, this is our proposal. This is what we thought we would do 2 years ago when we were thinking about this, and we are completely open to your guidance, absolutely open to your guidance.
The space is equipped so that we could do work with artists in terms of presenting small plays, small recitals. So there's a possibility to engage with local artists to actually use that space. We don't have a lot of performing spaces up in the area. This is not a large one, but it certainly could lend itself to that as well. So as Jeremy says, we're pretty much open. We want to be able to, maybe we should talk a little bit about the STEM Center, Jeremy.
The STEM Center, the current provider that has asked to be included in this program is First NYC. They are a robotics program, well known, does great work. Yvonne and I have met with their executive director a number of times. We hope to build the STEM Center within the ACT Center. So STEM programming typically starts at the end of the school day and continues on twice a month into the weekend. And if I remember right, it will have programming starting as young as 8 all the way through the high school years.
And maybe we should touch on some of the foster care and other programs that Children's Village operates that have the potential of being offered here as well.
Sure. So Children's Village focuses in 3 areas: foster care, juvenile justice, and immigration. And our primary approach and our primary mission in those 3 areas is to get young people back to family, because we believe that children do best when they're with family, ideally biological family, extended family, and if not, to adoptive homes. And we have a number of programs that aim to both prevent the separation of children, so doing a lot of prevention work in the community so that children are not needlessly separated and taken into foster care, and programs that also target teenagers and young adults in foster care. In New York, one of our big challenges continues to be the number of children that have spent 7 to 10 years in foster care, never went back home, and simply age out. And some of those children are right in our community. And we want to make sure that we have programming that meets them where they are so that they're not disconnected from their aspirations, and connecting them back to education, keep them engaged in a job search, preparation for work, and ultimately getting them employed.
Mhm. So we can pause and take some questions, but in terms of this, this particular committee, were there ideas about how do we get the young people involved in parks activities? How do we link up with programs that are already going on? Many of those groups come to you guys, and you probably know of them. So how do we link up, whether it's adult programming and or youth programming, with those individuals, so that individual groups, so that we can actually create some partnerships and extend out from the center into the community, into the park, some of the programming that we're doing. So I thought that would be a good way to kind of look at how we could utilize the skills and those folks that come to parks to help us think through that.
I think actually part of it is parks related, but part of that's actually going to be sort of more directed to the Youth and Education Committee.
Oh, yeah.
I kind of don't want to step on that. But I want to just recognize I've got some questions here from Francisco, and then Danielle, and then Tanya.
Hey guys, thank you so much for bringing this programming to our community. I think our community is awesome. We do lack a little bit in after school stuff for children. When we're talking in the 160s, 170s, 180s, 190s, 200s, 210s, 220s, we just don't have enough to cover all those kids. So thank you. I do like the programming that you guys offer. I just want to add that financial literacy, I didn't see anything about financial literacy in the programming. I think it's important that these kids start learning beginners investment, understanding money and bank accounts and how credit and all that, how that works. At least give them the basics, and investing, maybe teaching them how to farm. I know there's these mobile pods where you can teach kids how to plant and basil and what's another plant? Spinach, and just things that you can use to cook with or just to eat with. Green peppers, whatever. In the cooking part, I think that's awesome. I think our when I was growing up, we had a lot of like shop classes and cooking classes. That's completely being taken out of the school system. So thank you for that. I also didn't see immigration support. I saw something about immigration, but support as far as like if a woman who doesn't speak much English needs help with an abusive relationship or needs help filling out documents that she can't read, so on and so forth. That and how about like a career day where we can bring folks from different industries to come speak to the kids and kind of inspire them to look outside of whatever they think they can do. Other than that, man, you guys are awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's all great suggestions and recommendations. It's interesting you just brought up, we're doing a financial literacy program in our high school right now. We're calling it the 2Gen program. And we have been partnering up parents with their children and teaching them about financing, how to open a bank account, how to maintain a bank account, how to look at stocks, how to start thinking about, stashing dollars away for later and planning for college. So this is another program we'd like to be able to bring. And it's wonderful that we've been doing it both with parents and the youngsters, because our community doesn't usually plan together, nor does parents usually share the burden of the bill paying with them, but they need to understand that. So yes, that's something that we've been really looking at.
I would also encourage you to reach out to Neighborhood Trust Federal Credit Union. They do a lot of that kind of programming. So partnering with them, I think is a good way to build on that. And I'm sorry to jump my own cue. Next up, we've got Danielle.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna turn my video on for this.
You look fine.
I look crazy. My eyes
you look marvelous.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you so much for your presentation. This sounds like an amazing facility. A couple of thoughts and sort of piggybacking off of Francisco. I love everything that you said. I was thinking vocational trainings and programmings that were sort of skills-based, like the financial literacy and just anything that could sort of teach kids skills and also give them potentially of vocational training would be really great. That was the first thought. Also, I'm really happy to see the juvenile justice component built in. That sounds really exciting. I guess what I was wondering, I guess I don't want to take you to, I don't want you to have to take up too much time talking about this, but I guess I was just wondering about like the case management component of that and whether these kids have sort of a counselor that they could speak with or check in with, somebody who's supporting them. And then I guess more broadly for kids who aren't necessarily directly impacted by the justice system, are there mental health counselors on site for kids to sort of have therapy?
Yeah. So Jeremy, you want to talk about that piece?
Sure. I think I'm not so sure about therapy. We want this space to be welcoming for all children, and if we add too many clinical services here, spaces get labeled very quickly. We find that in community centers like this, and we operate 3 of them, there are 2 things that you need. One is programming that actually attracts young people as participants. It's stuff they want to do. So whether it's financial literacy or planting, we have 2 master gardeners that'll work with Harlem Grown to bring the planting program there. Yvonne has a team that will be embedded there. So the first is find programs that, really speak to young people and young adults. And the second is hire staff that attract young people to themselves. You can't have, there's a personality piece that's really important here. And on the back end of that, we will absolutely have, if there's a young person that needs services of a confidential nature, we have social workers, we have clinical social workers. We'll make sure that they get that service. But I don't think it'll happen at the ACT Center. It'll probably happen in one of our offices.
Okay, yeah, I think just to one of Francisco's other points, I think that the services uptown, I'm not familiar with every single service, but I think that it would be great to have additional services for youth, especially youth impacted by the justice system. I personally work in the jail system and know of a ton of youth from uptown that have been incarcerated, currently incarcerated, and I could assist with those referrals if that was something that was available. So yeah, I just think
I do also just want to echo that to Yvonne's point. I think that the board's various committees are going to be seeing a lot of her. There's a youth piece, there's a parks piece, there's a culture piece. So while I care deeply about the various aspects of this, I want to be mindful of the purview of this committee and not step on the purview of other committees. So I definitely encourage you to go to the youth committee. I encourage you to plug in with Danielle because of her very particular professional expertise. But I very much want to keep this conversation focused on the cultural piece, because this is the natural world parks piece. to the extent that there's overlap there, so that we can be focused on the purview of this committee in discussing this project in this committee. So with that, I'm gonna, we've got next up Naima, and then Sally. Oh no,
Tanya.
I'm sorry, we had Tanya first, then Naima, then Sally.
Yeah, first of all,
I see
thank
your
you
hands.
for,
I'll get to you. Tanya.
first of all, no problem. First of all, thank you for, this presentation. And I wanted to ask, first of all, what is the capacity of this center? What will be the capacity? Like, how big is it? I guess I'm just trying to get an idea of how many, what type of events that can be held there. The other thing I want to talk about in terms of the cultural, I think it's important to really make sure that when we talk about culture and having this reflected in the center, that we really talk to all of the people in the community and make sure that this center is representing, able to highlight cultures of all the different people in the community, because there are some communities that are just not even. So yeah, I would like that to happen. And I think maybe just, figuring out how we're going to get feedback from others in terms of, what type of programming we're going to have in there in terms of cultural programming. I think it's going to be really key. And I also think the focus on youth is great, but I also think we need to also make sure we are doing some programming for the adults and for people who represent them, who are supposed to be role models for them. I mean, like, to make sure that we are providing opportunities for them to learn and grow so they can be better role models for these young people. And so, those are just my comments and suggestions, but I would like to know a little bit about the capacity, but please make sure that culture reflects all of the different groups and that are in this community, and that we include look at our adults and how we can better educate them from, let's say, conversations about different things that are happening in our community. This could be a great place for those type of community conversations to occur, so we can be better adults and better role models to our kids.
Agreed, Tanya, and everything that you just said. I think, we're talking about, possibility of, having a different artwork that is displayed throughout the facility. We're talking about different conversations that could be held in terms of whether it's intergenerational programming, getting people together to talk about different matters that are happening in the community and what the impact is and what they would like to see happen. There's so many things that we could potentially do and use the space for. I believe, Jeremy, we're talking about 16.
About 16,000 usable square feet.
Square feet, yeah. Yeah, so everything that you've said is, I'm listing everything, and hopefully we're going to be smart about this, though, because one of the things we don't want to do is take on more than the facility can really handle, and then we wind up doing it in a way that is not of quality. Yeah, but definitely everything that you've said, we've heard you.
And we're going to come back to you many, many more times, certainly as we get closer to finally opening this center, but also as we begin to program in the center. It is our hope that many of you would join us and guide us, because your guidance will be very important to us as we make decisions.
So
together.
Procedurally, in addition to doing a lap through the other committees, I would encourage you, particularly, you can come to the general meetings, and we have a public session where anybody can speak for 2 minutes on any subject. So I think one way that might be really efficient is if you make it a habit to attend the general meetings, not necessarily every month, but most months, so that, most months we're getting a quick 2-minute update here's what we're thinking, here's what we're doing, here's the kind of outreach, these are the bridges that we're building. And you will be able to get that kind of interactive feedback with, you know, Danielle, who's working on, you know, different kind of incarcerated youth things, and with Curtis Young, who is the executive director of Artistic Noise, and with, you know, various people who are working in the business or the aging or the senior or the youth communities. And that you can also see and hear from other community-based organizations, whether it's, you know, Emma Silikans with her food and writing program for youth, or whether it's Neighborhood Trust and their financial literacy. And that's going to keep you from having to go to every single committee every month. If you're hitting the board, you're going to be able to update us, and we can update you as well.
That's great. Thank you.
Also, if it's possible for you to share with us the PDF, is this the file that you emailed to me earlier today?
It is.
Excellent. So then for people who asked about that, I know Trisha Anderton asked about that. I'm happy to share that with you. And anybody who wants to see this deck can contact the board tomorrow. Paola, I will send it to you. And if anybody wants to see this information, they can email the board and it can be emailed back to you.
Is there information on the deck?
Well, it's the slides that we've been seeing.
It's like, but is there contact information on there?
Actually,
Because I would like to talk to you guys about the financial and the stocks and investing and helping the youth out.
I want to try to observe the queue here, but at some point, so Jeremy and Yvonne, if you don't mind, if you could just state your contact information so people can make a note of it, and then we'll move on to Naima and Sally.
We could put it in the chat. Would that be easy?
We don't have the capacity. This meeting isn't set up with chat.
I'm going to put it in the Q&A. Can I?
Yeah, we don't have access. We only have access to answer people's questions that people who are not panelists ask. So the most efficient way to do it, if you don't mind, is to just state your phone number and your email, and people who want that information can write it down. We're going to go old school.
Okay, so it's my email address, JKOHOMBAN @children's with an S, Children's Village, one word, .org. 914-693-0600, extension 1201.
Ready for me? So
Sure.
I am Y Stennett, that's STENNETT @cloth, CLOTH, 159.org. And the phone number is 212-795-4779.
Thank you.
Jeremy, can you go over your email one more time? I'm sorry.
Sure. JKOHOM as in Mary, B as in boy, A as in Andrew, N as in Nancy, @Children's Village, one word, .org.
Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you all for having us. We really are very sincere about getting input from folks. This should be an awesome, is Steve got his hand up back there?
Yeah, we've actually got a couple of other questions. We've got Naima, then Sally, then Steve.
Oh, okay, cool.
Thank you, Liz. Hi, Ms. Stennett. I'm Naima Silver Matos, and
Hi, Naima.
hi, Mr. Kohomban. Did I say it correctly?
You did, thank you.
You're welcome. So before I share my suggestion, because you asked for some suggestions in the scope of this committee, the Parks and Cultural Affairs. I just wanted to confirm the location of this site would be on basically the library, the Inwood Branch Library site, right?
Yes,
On Broadway.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Just wanted to confirm because literally I live a few blocks from there, so that's my backyard or my front yard, you can say. And so I just wanted to firstly share that it is very it just feels great to hear and to see what the plan is, because it sounds like we're in good hands. I was actually one of the folks that was protesting to save Inwood Library. So it's just nice that that it is in good hands, and the project seems very thoughtful and addressing the needs of the community. And, you know, as someone that started a girls leadership program in the NYCHA Dykeman houses 7 years ago, which I'm still running right now on a volunteer basis, I can attest to the need for youth services. And based on what Mr. Cohamban said earlier, programming that attracts youth is very important. And so just quickly on that, and then I'll get to the subject of the Parks and Cultural Affairs. Quickly on that, something to consider is maybe a music recording studio space. It is something that a lot of the youth in our area are interested in. You know, whether they're pursuing other areas, they also want to make music. So I know that having a music recording studio space will be definitely an attraction for the youth in Dykeman. And then a suggestion regarding the Parks and Cultural Affairs Committee and how we can be supportive of the project moving forward is, what if we establish an unofficial or official liaison of the Parks and Cultural Affairs Committee that can volunteer to share information on an ongoing basis. So for example, earlier today, Jennifer Hoppe shared that there's going to be a litter ambassador program. And so maybe that's something that the liaison would make sure to share with you, because there's a youth component to that. And then that can be distributed in your organization. So maybe we can establish an unofficial liaison of the Parks and Cultural Affairs Committee, and then we can do it on a rotation so that it's not just one person that has that responsibility. So that's my suggestion, and I definitely look forward to connecting over this in another moment, because literally that's behind. I went to IS 52, which is right next to the site of the library, and the library is where I spent my middle school years. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I like the suggestion.
I do too.
Thank you.
I would say that another mechanism for unofficial liaisons or official liaisons is, that's why we have these meetings. And the power of community boards, and this is a specific comment to, you know, Naima's point, but also really just a general comment about what makes community boards so powerful. Our power is these kinds of conversations, the networking kinds of conversations, the building of relationships, and realizing, oh, I'm interested in that, you're interested in that, let's talk to each other, and doing it in a public and transparent way. And that's what I love about these meetings. And that's why I'm encouraging you to, you know, periodically attend this meeting, but also to attend the general meeting and use that public session in precisely that way. I want to get to Sally and then Steve, and then we do also have one other agenda item.
Thank you, Jeremy and Yvonne. That was great. I do have a couple organizations that I think that you should be talking to. You had mentioned working with parks, so I would recommend from the bottom of my heart, actually, Friends of Inwood Hill Park.
Okay.
That's our best forest. And also in terms of like the rooftop gardening, growing green and stuff like that, the Washington Heights Neighborhood Food Council. And I work with both, so I'm happy to also mention that I asked y'all to reach out. But that's what we've done. We have beds over at Swindler's Cove for growing food. And so it'd be nice to be able to grow some food and, you know, teach people about pollinators and that kind of stuff.
That'd be great.
I have one question. I know that the building is sort of set, but in terms of making a smaller space seem larger, especially for performances, is there a way that when they're constructing like the walls near the performing arts space, that those walls can actually be movable walls so you could actually host a much larger event?
We have some movable walls in there, and the space is designed to give us maximum capacity when needed. Also, the performance space will have natural light. So the design brings natural light into it.
Right. And I like the idea of the kids growing their food because they can, it's sort of like, you know, seed to farm to table. You know,
That's
the cooking
Yes.
stuff. You know, everything tastes so much better when you realize that you had a hand in growing it.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And we've done a lot of, you know, over the last years, we've done a lot of food distribution in the neighborhood. I mean, obviously not on the scale that you do it, Yvonne, what we can grow out of the beds that were allotted, but you know, there is both a lack of, you know, performance space, but there's a lack of green space to actually garden.
Yeah, yeah. And we're excited about the possibility and the fact that we will be having a full rooftop
Yeah, no, I'm
with a lot of beds that we can actually do planting vegetables. I'm sorry, love.
That's what makes me excited about seeing a new building is that rooftop. I want to like scope it out. What can I
Yeah.
put
Us too. We've spent years designing this.
there? It's really
Okay, Steve?
Yeah, I'm speaking now as just a community board member. I have two questions. The seating capacity for the performance space. Do you have a sense of how large it'll be? How many people will be able to fit in there? We think at maximum capacity with all the walls moved, it'll be 40 to 45, maybe if we are lucky 60, but it's the best we could do.
I'm sorry, you said 40 to 45.
60
Adults.
Yeah, 60 at max.
60 at max if there were children. But as we begin to build, and you know, we may have other spaces that work differently, but that's our maximum capacity space.
Okay.
All right. Well, that may suit some of our smaller theater companies. But my other, do you see the possibility of cross programming with the library itself? We do.
We do.
And we've discussed that, and we think joint programming will be very important because we want, especially with our young people, teenagers and our young adults, we want them to move between our programs seamlessly. The idea is to keep them engaged for as many hours as possible, meaningfully engaged. Okay,
And the
good.
way in the design of the library, there are several spaces within the library that we could do joint programming. They could do some aspects of the program down with us and then the rest of it up in the library because it has much more space.
Oh, good. Because that's what I'm hoping that you'll do. Take advantage of the fact that you're right there next to the library. And Danielle, did you notice the program indicated here? I think it's number 3. I think it's called the Clemente program, which provides for providing college educations to people previously incarcerated. Did you notice that?
I did not notice that, but thank you for pointing that out. That's really exciting.
Yeah, I think I think that's there just for you. But Yvonne and Jeremy, it says there the program is currently located at 145th Street and Adam Clayton Powell Boulevard. Would it be moving, or this will be a branch of that program? So we hope it would be a branch of that program. It's currently located at our community center, the one we operate at 143rd and Adam Clayton. It's part of Bard College's educational programming. Right now, of course, it's all Zoom, but prior to the pandemic, it was cited there, and we hope that either part of either the program moves to the new space or that we'll have a branch of it in Inwood. Well, I would hope that you could keep it in Harlem and just expand it to Inwood.
Mm-hmm.
Are you working with Bard currently?
We are.
Oh,
Yes.
great. That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah, I do hope that whatever just to echo Steve's point, I do hope that whatever programming you're talking about doing is in addition to, not in lieu of what you're already providing, because I'm excited about having these additional resources in our community, but not if it means that we're taking them from Harlem, because Harlem needs that as well.
No, And even with our programming, the extension of the home health certification program and the English as a second language, all of those will be extensions of the existing programs that we have now.
That's great. Great.
So I appreciate that. I don't want, I hate to sound like I'm giving you the bum's rush, but I'm trying to be mindful of everybody's time and of Zoom fatigue. It's 8:42. I've got one more agenda item and another small item that I forgot to mention in the context of our previous discussion. So I do want to conclude this. I'm not seeing any additional questions. And we had a bunch of questions in the chat that I think I was able to answer. And I did forward the PDF of the presentation, which you screen shared, to the folks who had requested it in the Q&A. So thank you. It was delightful to meet you, Jeremy, and it's so good to see you, Yvonne.
Same here. So good to be seen.
Yes. I'm looking forward to seeing you in person, but for the moment, I will take what I can get. It's always delightful to see your smiling face. So.
Thank you for the welcome and the opportunity.
Yes, everyone, stay blessed.
Thank you. You all were awesome. Thank you.
This was fantastic. Actually, before you go, I'd like to encourage you to stay on because I think there are a couple of, our next item on the agenda is we do a quick updates from parks, cultural affairs, friends of organizations, community-based organizations. And the first one up, I'm just sort of looking at the raised hands that we had. And the first one up is Emma Silikans. And Emma, if you're still on the call, I think you are going to enjoy hearing what she has to report on.
Hello there. I'm hoping it's not too noisy in the background here. I've got the washer dryer going and the tap, so I apologize about that. My name is Emma Silikans. I work with Mighty Writers, which is an organization that focuses on a mission of helping kids to think and write clearly. We're pretty new to New York City, but we've got an established background in Philadelphia and New Jersey, been working there since 2008. And we've been working in New York, in Washington Heights as our first site since November of last year. And we have 2 programs running so far and are very keen to talk to more community groups about developing programs out that are most needed in the community and not necessarily replicating what's already here. So at the moment, we run a family cook night that happens every week on a Thursday night from 6 till 7 p.m. And we have a great local Dominican woman who grew up in Washington Heights, Noemi George, who's a registered dietitian who runs them. And it's all on Zoom and all virtual at the moment. We have between sort of 7 and 11 families that turn up each week, and we're learning Dominican-inspired recipes right now. The program's bilingual, depending on the week and who turns up. We float in and out of Spanish and English, depending on who's there. So that's one of our programs that's been running since January of this year. And the other one just kicked off this weekend. It's a photography program that we're actually working with Cloth, with CASW on children's arts and science workshops. And we had 17 kids turn up for our first photography workshop on Saturday, which was really exciting. Again, hosted by a local Dominican woman. Her name's Natalia. She's an incredible photographer. So we've been having so much fun just chatting to the community and developing programs that are necessary in the area. The photography workshop is our first hybrid model where we will be doing an in-person photo walk coming up. So I can share details of these in the chat. We're full on enrollments for the photography workshop. It's all 100% free and available to the community. I send emails around to specific organizations each week. So if you'd like to be on that, drop your email into the Q&A. I can send you one as well. And Yvonne, we'd be so open to collaborating and seeing what's available that we might be able to offer in the center into the future. We're already speaking with Cloth. I've talked to L'Oreal quite a bit. She comes to our food night. She is so great. I've caught up with her for coffee as well. I love it a bit. So love to keep talking.
Yeah. We already have you tied into some of our programming.
Great. Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, it's so great that L'Oreal comes on because she's able to talk about each week what's available and what Cloth does to some of our participants. So we just love having organizations at the Cook Night if they can come along, because then we can share what's available to the community. Because from my perspective, there is so much available in Washington Heights, and yet I think the piece that's missing is the information getting to the right people about what's available. So if we can coordinate and work together to share what's already on offer and who's doing that and share it with families, I think that's where we can keep winning and keep providing the community with everything that they need to thrive. Washington Heights is just such an amazing place. I love the community. It's incredible.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have
Sorry, Liz, but what is Emma's email?
I'm just going to drop it in the chat into the Q&A. And this is the registration link for the food night that's going in there. My email is emma@mighty-writers, MIGHTY writers.org. You can also find me if you
can actually put your information in the Q&A for us to read. We just can't do it the other way. So I'm going to encourage you to do that.
It's done.
Fantastic. And then Naima, you can just pull it from there.
Yeah, if you Google my name, you should find a bit of, I'm a journalist as well, so I'm everywhere. You can find me on every platform if you need to. I'm very available and findable.
Excellent. Thank you. Next up, we've got Coach Dave, who's representing Hike the Heights.
Good evening. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. I'm glad to be here. I'm going to keep this short and sweet because I know most of you folks here. I'm here to talk to you about Hike the Heights. Last year, we did do our event live and virtual because we felt that the community needed something to stand together with. And this year, we're going to do a Hike the Heights, but in a similar format to last year, but a little more organized. We're going to have a live event, and we're going to encourage our people to organize mini hikes in their own neighborhood. So this year, Hike the Heights is going to be hike your heights from your favorite place of joy to your favorite park that gives you joy. And everyone, instead of having a large event with a couple of hundred people, folks are going to organize their own mini hikes with their own messages, their own community stories they want to tell, and end up in their own places that give them joy. So what I'm here to tell you is if you know anyone interested in doing a hike and wants to learn how to organize a community hike, they can get in touch with me.
Can you please share your email, Coach Dave?
Again? Okay.
I love that.
I'm taking the minutes, so I just want to provide that information to whoever's reading the minutes down the road.
Great. Yeah.
Good job, Coach.
Yeah, take your time, Naima. Trust me.
Yeah. Coach, if you could just throw that in the Q&A, that would be great. Thank you very much. Next up, we have Shiloh Holly from the Morris Jumel Mansion.
Hi. So I have 4 events that we're going to be highlighting this month. The first is our continuation of our pop-up exhibition called Veteran Voices, capturing the oral histories of New York City veterans. That's in partnership with the NYC Department of Veterans Services. That's on view until the end of the month in one of our period rooms. Our next event is our monthly virtual parlor chat, which will be held on April 22nd. It's with local Washington Heights artist Fago Felipe Gallendo about his Statue of Liberty illustrations, in which he's featuring an online exhibition of right now. Our monthly Family Day, which is a bilingual program, will be held in honor of Earth Day on Saturday, April 24th at 1 p.m. It is virtual, but we will be going live from Roger Morris Park. The last event is a partnership with Jane's Walk. The museum will be presenting 2 different self-guided walking tours in Washington Heights. The first is called From Farmland to Uptown, exploring the former Morris and Jumel Mansion estates. And the second is exploring Black history around the Morris Jumel Mansion. So you can find out more information about that event at Jane's Walk NYC. That's being held May 7th through 9th.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And if you could do me and Naima a favor and just send me a quick email with the summary on those things, and then Naima, I'll forward that to you so you can just drop it into the minutes. That way we know we have like all the specific details.
Question for Shiloh?
Yes, Steve.
Shiloh, I believe the bedroom on the second floor, was it Madame Jamel's bedroom? Is that now being restored?
Yeah, it's currently being in the process of being reinterpreted. So we have period carpeting and our furniture is out at the conservators. We're looking at a late April completion date about that. So we will likely report on that when it's completed.
Later this month, you think it'll be completed?
Yes, the historic carpetings have also been in quarantine in England for about a year. So we've been working pretty hard behind the scenes to get those to us. So hopefully by the end of the month, it'll be fully completed.
But that's big news.
Yep. Thank you, Steve.
If you could throw that into your email as well, in case Naima did not get all of those excellent details. Next up, Sally. Friends of Inwood Hill Park.
Great, thanks, Liz. A couple things. First of all, my favorite day of the year is coming up, which is Earth Day on the 22nd of April. And that's when Friends of Inwood Hill Park starts their Earth Day Festival, which goes for 3 days. On the 22nd, you can join us with entomologist Rachel Joachim for a Earth Day hike. Where we'll be focusing specifically on bugs. And then the next night, Friday night at 6:30, we are doing a sunset poetry walk. Both of those events, you have to pre-register on Eventbrite because they're limited space. And then on Saturday, right across from the farmers market, we're doing a sustainability zone. We'll have a bunch of different groups. We'll have all the materials there for anyone who wants to just wander off and do a cleanup. I just got 30 new grabbers this week, so we've got quite a stock. We'll have a pollination station where you can learn about pollinators and also plant one of your favorite pollinating plants in self-planter. We have a seedling giveaway with Wind Food Council. We have a compost giveaway with Wind Garden. Carol Mulligan is bringing earthworms. And finally, we have the New York City test and trace people are coming, handing out PPE and masks. A week later, we have the River Sweep. This is the 10th annual Riverkeeper Sweep. There's sites all over New York City along the Hudson River and its tributaries. We have 2 events in Inwood Hill Park this year. We're going to clean up the northern shoreline, and we're also going to be back at our regular spot, which is the Dyckman Pier. The thing I'm most excited about at the end of the day at the Dyckman Pier, we're going to build sailboats out of repurposed wood and sails and have a river sweep regatta. So it should be a really fun day. Cleaning up at the waterfront is great because you're in a park, you sort of think, why couldn't they take it out? Or why couldn't they find a trash can? Or where is a trash can? Whereas in the river, you're just so thrilled that it didn't get into the river. So it's really fun. And I hope to see everyone there. There's information on our Facebook page and a couple of things on Eventbrite. And there's registration links for the Riverkeeper. And again, that's really the funnest event of the year.
Thanks. And if you could also just send me a quick email with some of those details so that we can get, particularly for things like links, we can just cut and paste them and drop them into the minutes. Thank you so much. Next up, she is no longer in the meeting, so I just want to read in case people missed this. Janine McAdam, Friends of Bennett Park, wanted to let everybody know that there's a cleanup in Bennett Park on Saturday. That's this Saturday, the 17th, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Please join us. And Martin Collins is having Wi-Fi connectivity issues. So he asked me to share the following announcement. Join NOMA at 7 p.m. on Monday, April 19th for Sound Waves and Brainwaves with Grammy nominee Miguel Zanon and Columbia University's Zuckerman Institute. For information, you can go to their website, www.nomaanyc.org. Second, Washington Heights and Inwood Artists and arts organizations may register their arts and cultural events to be published in the NOMA Weekly Newsletter and in this June's Uptown Art Stroll Guide at nomany.submit-event/. I will forward this to you, Naima. Stay up to date on the Uptown Art Stroll and more on NOMA's website. And you can email Marty at artstroll@nomanyc.org with any questions. Are there other, we've got, let's see, Shiloh, I think you already spoke. Robert Barnett.
Okay, thank you for letting me speak for a few minutes. I'm Bob Barnett, I'm president of Harlem River Community Rowing. I've got 3 topics to touch base on. So Liz, if you want to move me along at any point, feel free. First of all, we serve Inwood and the greater New York area in offering free rowing introductory programs as well as recreational programs. The last couple of years up until COVID, we were doing it out of the Muskota. Columbia, thank you, the Columbia dock. And we were anticipating this year offering a full season of programming from April through November. Unfortunately, the dock is being torn down and rebuilt. Unfortunately, there have been delays. We had been promised it would be rebuilt by the spring, but there were holdups, and now it's not going to be done until fall. So we are still exploring other options. And in terms of meeting our responsibilities to the people that have rowed with us and have supported us, we will be holding a Zoom town hall meeting next month, probably the week after your next meeting. So I'll be back to talk about that. But it's really just an opportunity for the community, for us to inform the community of what we're doing in terms of providing on-water recreational opportunities to the community and some of the challenges ahead, but also some of the opportunities we see further down the road. Also, last Thursday, Harlem River Community Rowing and Row New York.
30 seconds.
Myself and Rachel Crichton, who's an executive director, were invited to present at a 2-hour Zoom session with our congressional delegation, representatives of it. That was organized by the Harlem River Working Group that covered everything from water quality, greenways, water access and recreation, environmental consequences of
Tom, I need you to wrap it up.
Okay, so in any case, that I can talk about next week. But anyway, they are very much in support of on-water recreation. Lastly, last week, Kate Ward of EDC presented at the Land Use Committee about 2 waterfront parks, that being at Academy Street and North Cove. And I want to come back and talk about that next month, because the site on Academy Street is identified as having recreational amenities, and we would like to see those amenities being a boathouse and a floating dock to provide on-water recreation and bring rowing back.
Really, this is you're way over time, and I would let's talk about adding that as an agenda item for next month if we can.
Will do. Be glad to.
Okay, thanks. And next we've got Chris Whitaker.
Oh.
Chris?
Hi there, yes.
Hey.
Thanks so much. This is Chris Whitaker from the Washington Heights Chamber Orchestra. I just wanted to let you know about a couple of our upcoming activities. We're continuing our every other week Sunday night streaming recital series that happens next on April 25th and May 9th. And the real reason for me being here is we are starting our pop-up chamber music concerts in our Uptown Parks starting this coming weekend with a fabulous brass quintet. So on Saturday, the 17th and Sunday the 18th in the afternoon. Look for our brass quintet. We'll be moving around to a couple locations. And then the following week, April 24th and 25th, we have a great string quartet that's going to be popping up in our Uptown Parks. So to learn more about everything we're doing, you can visit our website at washingtonheightsorchestra.org or the short version, whco.nyc. And I'll put both of those in the chat. But thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And your concerts are delightful to listen to. And if you could do me a favor and just email me the 2-sentence version of that so that
Absolutely.
again, we can drop it into the minutes.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Naima, you've got a question?
So, actually, I wanted to take off my hat as the minute taker and member of the community board, and actually put my hat on as founder of the Project Beauty Experience, which is a girls leadership program, but it's a cultural program that I have been running for free in the community for the past 7 years. We started in the NYCHA Dyckman houses back in 2014. So I'm just very excited to announce that the recruitment period is opening now for girls ages 8 to 14. And we have an event this Saturday, April 17th at the NYCHA Dyckman houses at 3 p.m. in collaboration with the Dyckman Residents Association, Citizens Committee of New York, Sweets by Shelley, and a few other organizations. And yeah, just wanted to put that out there. The workshop is going to be a vision board workshop for girls to establish the woman that they want to be in the future. So it's going to be a guided workshop on that.
Cool. Thank you. And last, but certainly not least, I believe we have Jennifer Hoppe.
Thank you, Liz. We heard you did the Friends of Bennett Park and NYC Parks this Saturday. On Sunday, you can join the Inwood Hill Park Rangers on a hike, an interborough hike, a super hike from Inwood Hill to Henry Hudson Park and other Bronx parks. That's meeting at 11 a.m. At the entrance to Inwood Hill Park. On Sunday, the Fort Tryon Park Trust and NYC Parks are doing a stewardship day. Sign in at the Heather Garden entrance to work on the Fort Washington Terrace and the ping pong table area there. Yes, we have ping pong in Fort Tryon Park, 4 tables. It's a wonderful intergenerational game. On Saturday, the 24th, there's a Broadway Beautification Day at Fort Tryon Park at 10 a.m. May 1st, we'll be doing a forest restoration planting at Inwood Hill Park in the Clove area, and that's led by New York City Park Stewardship Division. And I wanted to mention, I forgot to mention earlier, this committee had approved the Margaret Corbin art installation. That's part of the Claire Weiss Emerging Artist competition. That artist was delayed in their process because they couldn't access their workspace during COVID. So we expect that installation to be at the end of May, early June. 2 other quick things. The Fort Tryon Park is in its 85th anniversary year, and the Fort Tryon Park Trust has done a movie of the park that's going to be released in the next week. So look on the Fort Tryon Park Trust Facebook page and social media. And lastly, I should have said this earlier, I'm sorry. The Parks Department is starting construction on Ann Loftus Playground. We have a pre-construction meeting later this month. So we expect the contractor to be mobilizing on site in May. As I get a firmer start work date on site, I'll send an email to Liz and to the community board. Portions of that site are going to be closing due to the $4 million reconstruction project.
Right. That is actually, I mean, it's terrible that it's going to be closing, but it's great news that that project is going to be moving forward. I'm super excited about that. I see I've got a question from Daryl, and then I've got one more speaker that I overlooked, and then I've got an addendum to a previous item. Daryl.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there was any update on Gorman Park.
Gorman Park is part of a citywide retaining wall contract, which also includes the bike path. Those sinkholes in the bike path and the portion of between Dykeman Street and 181st Street, where the retaining wall was hit by an accessorized vehicle or an ambulance and some other sections. The construction contract has been approved. We're now waiting for the Office of Management and Budget to approve the construction supervision contract. So depending on the timing of that, construction will start probably first on the bike path and then at Gorman.
Jennifer, that construction at the Ann Loftus Playground, is that going to go on through the summer if it starts in May?
Yeah, it's a 12-month construction project. It's pretty complex. It's all of the infrastructure for the fountain.
Okay. Next up, we've got Alexander Campos.
Hello, this is Alex from the Hispanic Society Museum and Library. Good evening. Thank you, Liz. First of all, I just want to say we continue to provide programming online via our website. We have some certain tutorials for art making workshops for children. And you should please go to our website, hispanicsociety.org. Or also, you can also sign up for our e-blast. We send out e-blasts every week regarding various art making workshops, as well as information about Hispanic artists. Upcoming in early May, we will be releasing 2 videos, also virtually. One is a dance use of 3 Hispanic women using our collection and a dance troupe, group trio. And the second thing, we're also doing a workshop with, I think, Felipe Galindo for Cinco de Mayo. So it'll be an art making workshop that kids could do and follow with directions. And also we are doing a post on Cinco de Mayo in the village of Puebla in honor of Cinco de Mayo. So these are going to be our May activities. We also have a virtual benefit at the end of May, on May 26th, our annual fundraiser this year. But we're doing the video. We are pleased that we have some members of the Uptown community, including the Mirandas, on our video that they're presenting at the fundraiser. Additionally, it's also a sneak preview to our exhibition, the Murals Project that we're doing in collaboration with NOMA, Northern Man Arts Alliance, featuring 4 murals by local artists who will have a mural. You might have seen them. They were for the United Palace for a week. We're showing them for the summer, and we're planning programming throughout the summer in conjunction with the murals.
Thank you. That was perfect.
Thank you. And I see everybody left, abandon the ship, abandon ship.
That was perfect. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward
We're here.
to that. Okay, so one thing that I realized I am remiss when we had our conversation about Bennett Park and the Parks Department's proposal, one of the things that, with your permission, and if I could just see a general show of hands, body language, nodding of heads, whatever, is we have had this ongoing conversation about wanting to rename the park. We aren't there yet on what it would be renamed. So I am not suggesting that we have in the resolution anything terribly specific about renaming the park. But I think that having a whereas that summarizes that this is part of an ongoing conversation, and we can take that language from the resolution that we had passed last month about the other renamings, and just suggest that there might be room for signage if we wind up having a recommendation about an actual name change. Because I just want to be mindful that we have that other conversation going, and I don't want it to be like we're not ready to make a
Sounds good.
recommendation, and I don't want to
Sounds
muddy
good to me.
the conversation
Thank
about the lawn, but I also don't want to completely overlook it.
Yep, that sounds good to me.
Everybody?
Right.
Yep. Excellent. Thank you so much. And with that, Tanya, I think gets the last word. What you got?
Oh no, it's very quick. Thank you, Liz. I just wanted to, speaking of culture, I just wanted to recognize today is the first day of Ramadan. So for those who, celebrate that, I just wanted to acknowledge that people in our community who that might, have great meaning. Thank you.
Thank you. Ramadan Mubarak, Ramadan Kareem, a blessed Ramadan and a generous Ramadan. One of the pillars of Ramadan is not only fasting and prayer, but also charity. So Ramadan Mubarak and Ramadan Kareem to all of those who observe. And thank you so much, Tanya, for that reminder. I know we went a little bit late, and on the one hand, I feel terrible for having such a long meeting. On the other hand, I feel like my brain is very full and about to explode from all of the things that I learned and from all of the incredible connections that were made. So I appreciate all of you, and I appreciate all of the people who were here and were contributing great stuff in the Q&A. I really miss in-person meetings, because I think there's an element of connectivity that we miss when we're not in person, but I think we're all doing a pretty good job of managing that Hamish feel on Zoom. And I do really like that when the meeting is over, I'm already home. So
That's a good one.
Has there been any
A motion to adjourn?
wait, Francisco was just saying something.
Quickly, has there been any talks about getting back to at least distancing each other in a room?
No, there hasn't been any conversation about that. And that's not a conversation that we really can have in committee. That's something that we have to talk about at the executive and move forward. But that's definitely something that we should be raising with the chair with guidance also from the borough president. Sally's looking like she wants to get the last word on this.
Oh, no, just quickly, can you just make sure they save the Q&A so we can look at that? Because there's a lot.
Yes. The Q&A, we don't have to save the Q&A. It automatically saves, and then the board forwards that to us.
Cool.
And then just Paola, I want to flag for you. If you can send me the Q&A, I will try and pull out all of the folks who wanted to be added or re-added to the list. And I don't know if you want to go through it, if you want me to go through it, send it to you, if you want to do a quick conversation so that we can make sure that we didn't miss anybody. However you want to handle that is okay by me.
I'm happy to volunteer to go through it, since I'll be looking through it anyway.
Okay.
And then if you want, you can make an announcement going forward. Anyone that would like to subscribe, all they have to do is go to our website. There's a box where you put in your email and you subscribe to our email list.
Got it. That is very good to know. Okie dokie. Thank you so much.
Daryl motioned.
Yep. So I was just going to say, with that, I'm going to recognize Daryl.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Outstanding. All those in favor?
Oh, yeah.
All those in favor, click the leave button. Oh, and the time is 9:15.
9:15.
I just wanted to say, Steve Simon, you're always like so far. Like every time there's a meeting, you're so far from your camera.
It's like Carole King would have something so far away.
Nobles, you have the most adorable children in the world.
I don't know. Francisco's kids are also very cute.
That's true. I haven't seen them as much. When I see these pictures, I just like fall in love all over again.
Nobles keep me surprised.
I think all children are cute. Oh.
It's not a compliment. They're all awesome.
Oh my God.
Oh, look at you.
Oh God.
Oh, fantastic. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. And I will see you all next time.
Good night, everyone.
Guys.
Thanks, Paola.
Liz, so do I wait for you? Oh, Liz is off. Okay.
See you.